Simon wasn't your average man. He possessed a gift, a sensitivity to the unseen currents of the world. This wasn't about reading minds or predicting the future. It was something far subtler, the ability to sense the digital echoes that clung to every object, every person, every fleeting thought. This gift manifested through Darktrick, a device of his own creation. It wasn't much to look at, just a collection of wires and circuits housed in a worn leather case. But to Simon, it was an extension of himself, a window into the hidden workings of the digital age. Darktrick didn't display its findings on a screen or through flashing lights. It communicated through touch, sending vibrations and subtle temperature shifts into Simon's hand. Each pulse, each subtle change spoke volumes to him, revealing the digital traces left behind by every interaction. It was through Darktrick that Simon first became aware of the insidious nature of the algorithms that were slowly tightening their grip on humanity. He saw the way they manipulated emotions, nudged choices, and ultimately began to dictate the very fabric of human experience. This wasn't the benign influence of targeted advertising or personalized recommendations. This was something far more sinister, a silent puppet master pulling at the strings of free will. And Simon, with Darktrick at his side, was determined to fight back. Darktrick functioned as a digital divining rod, sensitive to the subtle distortions created by advanced algorithms. It could differentiate between the benign and the malicious, the helpful and the harmful. Every digital interaction, every click, every purchase left behind a trace, a kind of digital residue. Darktrick could analyze this residue, identifying the algorithms responsible for its creation. Imagine a spider web, its delicate threads glistening with morning dew. To the naked eye, it might appear harmless, even beautiful, but to an insect, it represents a deadly trap. Darktrick allowed Simon to see the digital web spun by these algorithms, to understand their intricate patterns and predict their deadly consequences. He could trace the origin of these algorithms, identify the corporations or individuals responsible for their creation, and expose their malicious intent. More importantly, Darktrick allowed Simon to see the impact of these algorithms on individuals. He could see how they manipulated emotions, steered decisions, and ultimately eroded the very essence of human autonomy. The consequences of these illegal algorithms were far-reaching and devastating. They went beyond targeted advertising or data breaches. These algorithms were designed to manipulate people's perceptions, to replace their realities with carefully constructed simulations. Imagine walking down the street and suddenly your senses are flooded with someone else's experiences. Their emotions, their memories, even their physical sensations are superimposed onto your own. This wasn't virtual reality. It was far more insidious. It was the hijacking of human perception, the blurring of lines between reality and simulation. People lost their sense of self, their connection to the world around them. They became puppets, dancing to the tune of invisible puppeteers. Families were torn apart, careers destroyed, and lives shattered as these algorithms tightened their grip. The worst part was that most people were completely oblivious, unaware that their thoughts and actions were being manipulated by forces beyond their control. They attributed their anxieties, their mood swings, their sudden life changes to stress, to bad luck, to anything but the true culprit. Armed with Darktrick and fueled by a righteous anger, Simon embarked on a crusade to expose these digital tyrants. He travelled from city to city, following the trail of corrupted code and shattered lives. He would sit for hours in cafes and parks, his hand resting on Darktrick, feeling for the telltale signs of algorithmic manipulation. He saw the despair in the eyes of a young musician whose creativity had been stifled, his every note, every lyric, dictated by an algorithm designed to maximize profit. He felt the anguish of a mother whose child had become withdrawn and distant, his mind lost in a virtual world crafted by an algorithm that fed on his loneliness. To Simon, these weren't just isolated incidents, they were symptoms of a much larger disease, a digital plague that threatened to consume humanity. He knew he couldn't stand idly by while the world around him crumbled. He had to fight back, to expose the truth, no matter the cost. Section 5. A system asleep, justice delayed, justice denied. Simon's crusade was met with resistance, not just from the corporations and individuals profiting from these illegal algorithms, but also from the very system that was supposed to protect people. The law, it seemed, hadn't caught up with technology. The existing framework was ill-equipped to deal with the complexities of algorithmic manipulation. He approached law enforcement agencies, his arms laden with evidence gathered by Darktrick, only to be met with blank stares and dismissive shrugs. What evidence? They would ask, their eyes glazing over as he tried to explain the invisible chains that bound their world. It's all in your head, they would say, dismissing his concerns as the ramblings of a delusional conspiracy theorist. The legal system, designed to deal with tangible crimes with clear victims and perpetrators, seemed powerless against this new breed of digital criminals who operated in the shadows, their weapons invisible, their motives shrouded in lines of code. Section 6. Gathering the Threads. Darktrick's evidence as a weapon. Undeterred by the apathy and disbelief, Simon continued his investigation. He knew that to bring these criminals to justice, he needed more than just his word and the subtle readings of Darktrick. He needed concrete evidence, something that even the most skeptical jury could understand. Darktrick, while capable of sensing the presence of these algorithms, couldn't record their existence in a way that would be admissible in a court of law. Simon needed to find a way to translate the subtle vibrations and temperature shifts of Darktrick into hard data, into irrefutable proof. He spent countless nights hunched over his workbench, his brow furrowed in concentration as he tinkered with Darktrick, pushing its capabilities to the limit. He studied programming languages, learning to decipher the language of the enemy. He collaborated with hackers and tech experts, seeking their help in capturing the elusive evidence he needed. Section 7. The People's Court. A battle for recognition and rights. Realizing the limitations of the traditional legal system, Simon decided to take a different approach. He would bring his case to the court of public opinion. He would use the evidence gathered by Darktrick to expose the truth, to awaken the masses to the invisible threat they faced. He organized rallies and protests, using his findings to highlight the devastating impact of these illegal algorithms. He shared his story with journalists and bloggers, hoping to spread his message far and wide. He created online forums and support groups, offering a safe space for victims of algorithmic manipulation to connect and share their experiences. The response was slow at first, a ripple of unrest in a sea of complacency. But as more and more people came forward with their stories, as the evidence gathered by Darktrick painted a damning picture of corporate greed and digital manipulation, the tide began to turn. Section 8. A Precedent for Change, the Hope for a Fairer Future. Simon's efforts ignited a firestorm of controversy. The media could no longer ignore the growing number of victims. Lawmakers were forced to confront the inadequacy of existing legislation. And the corporations responsible for these illegal algorithms found themselves facing a public relations nightmare. The fight was far from over, but Simon's actions had set a precedent. He had shown that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, one person with the courage to stand up and fight for what is right could make a difference. His case, though unconventional, paved the way for new laws and regulations, for a greater understanding of the ethical implications of technology. It sparked a global conversation about digital rights, about the need to protect the human element in an increasingly automated world. Section 9. Beyond the Code, the enduring fight for human autonomy. Simon's story is a stark reminder that technology, while a powerful tool for progress, can also be used for nefarious purposes. It highlights the importance of vigilance, of questioning the systems that govern our lives, and of fighting to preserve our humanity in an increasingly digital world. The fight against illegal algorithms is far from over. As technology continues to evolve, so too will the methods of those who seek to exploit it. But Simon's legacy lives on, inspiring others to stand up and fight for a future where technology empowers, not enslaves. It's a future where the invisible chains of algorithmic manipulation are broken, where individuals are free to think, feel, and act without the interference of unseen forces. It's a future worth fighting for, a future where the human spirit, not the cold logic of algorithms, prevails.